What's up guys, it's Meg and welcome back to Meg After Dark. Today we are talking about the latest episode of Fear the Walking Dead, Season 3, Episode 5. I really love this episode. I really did. I am always amazed at the new ways that Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead surprises us with different walker kills and the way characters can die and just all these, and this episode was no exception, you guys. And after 7 seasons of The Walking Dead, you'd think it would be a little bit harder to surprise us Walking Dead fans, but I mean, Fear the Walking Dead is not ceasing to amaze me here. It's crazy. So it starts out, one of a few crazy moments in here was the dead wife walker, the cute couple. They were so cute in the previous episode, dancing to music. They look so much in love, and the start of this episode was just so sad. But she goes to bite the dude's neck. He brings her in for a hug, but she's got no teeth. She has dentures. And yes, we've seen sort of that no teeth thing with Michonne's pets way back when we first met Michonne, but it's just not the same. They were walkers and she took their jaws off, you know? This is like a person who just legitimately had no teeth, had dentures, and she had put her dentures in the jar to soak it, so she was like gumming his neck. Like, there's no way she could have killed him that way. And it really surprised me, because in that moment you're waiting for like the blood to start squirting and him to start screaming, and that was like not happening at all, and I was confused for a split second until they pan onto the teeth, and I just thought that was pretty funny. And it was such a sad and yet beautiful kind of moment, which is weird to say about someone dying in The Walking Dead, or Fear the Walking Dead, but he placed his temple against her temple, and then he shot himself so that one shot would kill both of them. And I just thought that was really, like, he didn't want to live without her, and in that moment, like, he knew he didn't have to think about it. He loved her so much that he couldn't imagine living without her, and he just took his own life in that instant. Like, there was no second thought to it. And so now we have this burned down house, and Nick is trying to kind of fix it up, I think in the hopes that he could eventually have some type of life that resembled this wonderful couple that was in love. He even hears stories about them from Otto. But I don't want to get too much into that just yet, because I want to continue talking about these amazing moments in this episode. So we also have a couple really cool walker kills from Madison in there, where she is killing them with the police baton. She stabbed it in the walker's eye, which I thought was pretty gross and intense, and I feel like she's got like this fixation with eyeballs now. We also have the main one. The main one is, what did they say the guy's name was? Phil. He was part of the Broke Jaw Ranch group. He was at the outpost here, and everyone else at the outpost had been burned, and he was kind of left there as a warning, so that whenever the rest of the people at Broke Jaw Ranch came looking for their people, he would be seen there, and it was kind of like this scary like warning, like, this could happen to you if you guys don't leave like we want you to. And this guy, I just it freaked me out, to be honest. I mean, if you saw my reaction video, I was like, what the fuck is happening? And it took me a moment to really like wrap my brain around what was happening. And he had a plate of his skull like taken, you know, head trauma here, and there was a piece of his skull removed to expose his brain, and the crow, the raven, was picking at pieces of his brain. Now, someone else tried to explain it in the comments, but I knew this. It was just such a shock that it was hard to take in that moment, like what you're seeing. But I knew this, and once I thought about it more, I realized, okay, that makes a lot of sense. You know, when there is significant brain trauma, a lot of times you are still able to function, but a piece of your brain has been messed up, or like, for example, the crow was like literally eating pieces of the dude's brain, where you go into this state of you, what is it? It's like you're regressing, you know, when you remove a part of the brain, you stop functioning as normal. And he was repeating over, he wasn't dying yet, he wasn't dead, but I'm sure he was dying, but he wasn't dead, and he was perfectly like, seemed fine, but he was repeating that poem over and over and over again. And it was such a creepy poem that I actually had to look it up. And now, of course, I can't remember what it was called. I wrote it down somewhere, but it was, I saw a little man on the stair that wasn't there, something like that. And it was originally this poem that was, it was made sort of about this ghost story, you know, in like this house or something like that. And but it was just so creepy. So he's saying this poem over and over again while the crow is eating his brain out. And then Madison, just like, to put the dude out of his misery, you know, to be as gentle as you can, she just slid ever so slowly the knife into his brain, and then he was dead. And you're left kind of in shock, like, wow, that is pretty scary, crazy way to kill someone and to torture them, you know. And then we meet this guy named Walker, who appears to be a native. And he, I didn't know this, but when you're watching the show, you get the sense, obviously, that Troy and this guy Walker, which I think is such a funny name for him to have, but they know each other. They definitely know who each other is, the different groups, and they've apparently been kind of killing each other off since this apocalypse started. And when I watched The Talking Dead, if you guys don't watch that, it is always super helpful in understanding the episode more. But Sam Underwood, the guy who plays Jake, said that his character was a lawyer, or like working in that field before the apocalypse started, and this guy Walker was also in that same field, and they knew each other before all of this started, and there was a history there before everything started. And then this guy just kind of got worse, and I have to watch it again. I have to watch The Talking Dead again because I was editing my reaction video at the same time. But it was very interesting to know that they have a long-standing history amongst each other, and basically this guy is kind of this new threat to this ranch, and yet we're still not sure that the ranch isn't a threat itself. So they've clearly been killing each other, and they want, you know, the writers and everybody want us to think that Walker and his people are these crazy, like, bad guys, like, whoa, they're killing people in insane ways, like, this is super scary. But I think there's way more to the story here. I think we're gonna find a lot more about the Brokejaw Ranch that we're not gonna like. A lot of things, you know, obviously Troy has been killing this guy's people as well, and we know Troy, he enjoys killing. So it's very interesting to kind of see how this is going to progress as the season moves on. I don't think it's as clear as it seems. Moving along before this gets to be too long, let's see. Real quick, we have Nick cleaning up this house. He really wants to convince Luciana to stay at the Brokejaw Ranch. You can tell that he feels safer there. He thinks this is as good a place of it as any to stay. They have supplies, they have food, they could make a life here. Luciana wants nothing of it. These people, Troy is living there. He is responsible for killing her entire colonia. Everyone she knew besides Nick is dead. Nobody survived, and that is just the most awful thing, like, you can imagine living with these people for how long, taking care of them, and everyone is dead. So I can totally see why she would not be comfortable or feel safe staying at the ranch here. But ultimately she decides to part ways with Nick, leaves him a note, and the last we see her, she is at the border there, it looks like, trying to figure out a way over. And now, I mean, she's separated again, and I like her character, so it really bothers me when our groups get separated. Quickly, we also have Strand and Daniel, these two guys that just do not like each other, and they are driving back to the hotel again, which I, again, thought that we were not going to see any more of the hotel after Strand left. But this entire road trip that they're taking, Strand is still holding on to the lie that he told Daniel. And Daniel knows it. You can tell that he knows it, and he's just kind of letting it play out. He needs to find out where the hotel is anyways, because even if Ophelia is not there, he knows that she was there at some point, and that's probably the best place to start looking for her from that point, because she was at least there. But he knows that Strand is lying. He just doesn't know the extent of to which his lie is going, you know, like how far his lie has gone. Like, was she ever there? Did she die there? When did she leave? What did she leave in? That kind of thing. Like, he wants this information from Strand. Now Strand is just kind of, I think he's like, he feels stuck at this point where he said this lie and now he's stuck in the car with Daniel, and he knows that if he tells the truth, Daniel will probably kill him. And Daniel is, you know, he's a fighter, he's a survivor, and Strand knows that, and knows that if he keeps him around for as long as possible, he's going to have kind of a protector there, a bodyguard, you know, somebody to save him. And he lets it go up until the point, no, we get to the hotel, and clearly something bad has happened in the hotel because it looks deserted. It hasn't been that long, as far as we know, from the point that Strand left it. So something clearly went bad very quickly, and I have a feeling that they let so many people in the gate, and it sounds like probably some people turned and all hell broke loose there. Now we don't know if anybody survived. I suppose it doesn't really matter, but Strand and Daniel are in the lobby, and Daniel does the ding dong dinner bell, come on guys, in order to get Strand to tell the truth. And Strand tells the truth, and Daniel leaves him there, and now we have another group separated. I'm fine with it, to be honest with you. I am over liking Strand. I liked him for a long time. I enjoyed his character and his, like, the con artist part of him, and but I didn't like this. Daniel has been through a lot. Strand knows that. And he survived when he shouldn't have survived. And to lie about someone's child, now Strand, as far as we know, doesn't have kids, so maybe he doesn't get it, but to lie about someone's child is just not, it's not cool. And to try and get something from Daniel by lying is just, it really pissed me off, to be honest with you. And the fact that he got free from the dam and he still continued the lie. He could have just been like, okay, we can go our separate ways, sorry I lied to you, she was alive here, and it would have been over with, okay? But I really didn't like this about him, so I'm kind of whatever about what happens to him. I mean, I know we'll keep seeing him. He's at the hotel on foot. Don't know where he's gonna go from here. Daniel has driven off, and we don't know if he knows where he's going either. But he is still looking for Ophelia. We still don't know where Ophelia is. Now, Alicia and Jake, they hook up finally, which I kind of knew that was gonna happen. You kind of just get the feeling. Alicia is going through a lot. I said this at the end of my reaction video, but I really like this big change in her right now, because we've seen her kind of, we've seen her scared at the very beginning, as any young woman would be in the start of an apocalypse, and then we see her kind of at the hotel. She really gets strong, and she stabs the guy, and she's really doing what she has to do to survive, and you see her with her knife and stuff, and she seems like she's getting her, she's hardened, she's accepting kind of the apocalypse thing. And then as we see her, she's in the safety of this ranch, and she can move around without fear right now. And a lot of the reality of her situation is starting to kind of settle in for her. And she is talking to Jake about how, you know, yes, she used to love writing, she used to love these books and poetry and all of this stuff, but this was a former life, and what does it even matter anymore, you know? And she had all these plans for her future, and now it's all gone, and you can see like she is depressed and falling into this like sadness and grief, and doesn't really know where her place is in this new world. And Jake is kind of trying to say that you have to still have hope, and you can't let go of who you were entirely. And anyways, they hook up. There's something more gonna happen there, I'm sure. At the very end, we kind of get a little bit of a scare. We think she is jumping off a cliff, when in reality she is just jumping into a lake, which I thought was kind of funny. I'm not sure I totally trust Jake. I like Jake a lot, but we hear from Otto when he's talking to Madison, or no, when he's talking to Nick. He says something that is very, very sad about Troy's childhood. And we know that Otto was a drunk, and that his wife was also drunk, and probably, I mean, very crazy it sounds like. That it doesn't sound like she ever loved Troy, that he was more of a nuisance to her. And we hear the story about how she, Troy was in trouble. He used to have crying fits a lot. Well, no wonder, you know. Can you blame the kid? Probably felt no love in his childhood at all from either of his parents. And his mother locked him in the basement, and a day later, it took them a whole fucking day and night for someone to remember that he was down there in a basement, a young child. I mean, can you just can you imagine, like, any of you who have kids, or can you imagine being a kid and having a parent that is supposed to love you, lock you in a basement and not feed you and not give you water and forget about you, essentially? I mean, it's just the most horrible thing. And you know that that wasn't just one instance where this happened, that there were many times where this poor child was probably mentally abused and physically, if not through hitting and violence, through like the physical of maybe not receiving food, not receiving water, being locked in closets, being locked in the basement, not being cared for. And it makes you wonder if maybe now it seemed like in the very first video, this video is so long, you guys, I have so much to say, but in the first apocalyptic video that we see of the cuts, the scene cuts that Madison was watching on the video, God, I cannot find my words right now, where we see Otto yelling at Troy for crying and then going, Jake, take care of your brother. Now, at that point, you kind of think that Jake is like probably the only parental type loving figure in Troy's life, even though there's not much age difference there. But you have to wonder if maybe Jake also messed around with Troy, also tortured him a little bit, you know, as an older brother maybe would in a normal situation anyways. Maybe Jake has more to do with Troy's upbringing and the horrible things that happened to him than we know of, because Jake seems like this great upstanding guy, the perfect son, really good guy, and you just have to wonder if maybe there is a little bit more darkness in him than he's letting on. Now, I'm not sure, but I think it would be kind of interesting if we found out that he also had something to do with Troy's horrible upbringing as well. So you kind of feel bad for Troy, you know, because you know, like, having that kind of horrible childhood does things to a child, and that carries on until you're an adult, and those things just don't go away. They affect you forever. Now Troy makes it very clear that he enjoys killing both walkers and humans. They come across, him and Madison and the rest of his group come across this overturned police work vehicle with these inmates that have turned into walkers, obviously. And you see they're all like Madison's trying to just kill these people, you know, kill these walkers, like get them in the head. If she can't get them in the head, you know, like she's trying to take them down along with the rest of the soldiers there. Troy, however, you see this one moment where he's like, instead of just chopping the walker in the head, he like decides to go all like, chop his arm off and chop this arm off and do this, and then I'll hit him in the head, and then he's dead, but I'm gonna kick him into the van, you know, into the truck too, just for one last like gotcha. So I mean, he's really enjoying it, okay? And Madison sees that and sees that he really likes killing. And then there's this whole scene where after the Raven scenario and with the new threat walker, he takes all their shoes and he takes their supplies and he forces them to walk back to the ranch. Now they drove a long way, so they're walking barefoot, their feet are bleeding in so much pain, and they need to take a break for the night. And we see this interaction with Madison and Troy, and Madison is overstepping herself in Troy's eyes, but she is also gaining a lot of respect from the rest of the men there. Now, she mentions that in order to put Troy in his place, she mentions that his mother didn't love him. And that really strikes a nerve with Troy. But she also knows that it is a way to kind of try and keep him under her thumb, but it pushes him too far. She wakes up in the night with a knife to her throat. Now, we know that Troy is volatile, and I almost expected something like this, for him to not go quietly into the night and let her get away with that. So it didn't so much surprise me that he was wanting to kill her in that moment. What surprised me the most was the guy sleeping next to her, not trying to help her. She looks over after it's all said and done, and the guy is just staring at her, and then he rolls over and turns the other way. And it makes you wonder if he is scared of Troy and feels like he is forced to listen to him and forced to not do anything, or if I mean, that's kind of what I felt like that Troy is so scary, you know, that he's not someone you stand up to because you end up dead. And I kind of feel like that's what it is, and that makes me even more scared for Troy's character, because I feel like he seems scary already, but he's probably a lot more messed up than we even know at this point. Let me know what you think about that part and why the soldier didn't do anything and just rolled over, because normally I feel like in a normal situation another guy would come and help her and be like, what the fuck, dude, you know, and like come and save you or whatever. And we know Madison she maybe could have, I don't know. I mean, he had the knife right at her throat, so I don't think she could have fought him off. Okay, you guys, that's it for my review. Sorry this video is very long this time. There was a lot to talk about. I really enjoyed this episode. Let me know what your favorite part was in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this Troy and Madison situation. It's kind of weird. What do you think about Jake's character? Is he really just a good guy living at the ranch here, or is there something more to his story? And what do you think is gonna happen with Strand and Daniel now, and where the hell is Ophelia? Okay, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you guys next time. I hope you have a fantastic night. Bye.